Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my very first everyday makeup stash. So I'm going to be explaining to you what a makeup stash is, just in case you're not familiar, and I'm going to show you the products that I pulled out for the first one, and I'm going to show you how I did today's look using all of those products. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so in case you're not familiar, a makeup stash, an everyday makeup stash, is basically where you're going to be pulling products out of your makeup collection that you want to try and get some use out of. So it could be stuff that you just want to reintroduce yourself to, maybe stuff that's just been sitting on your shelf. Maybe you bought something months ago and just never picked it up. Maybe you picked it up once or twice, you really liked it, but for whatever reason you never went back to it. So that's basically what a makeup stash is, and I believe there's a lot of people on YouTube who do these types of videos, but I came across the idea from YouTuber ANDREA Renee. So she's one of my favorite YouTubers, and she actually has a playlist, because I think she does her makeup stash videos once a month, which is what I'm going to be doing. So I will link one of her videos. I'll try to find like her most recent one for her most recent makeup stash video, and I will link it in my description. But like I said, I think there's a bunch of people on YouTube who do it, but I got this idea directly from her, which is why I'm going to link her video down below. So for me, this is kind of like an alternative to a project pan, which I did try to do one of those earlier in the year. And I did make a little bit of progress on the project pan. I actually finished one of the products that I had, and there's another one that I'm really close to panning. I'm sure that I'll be able to finish it by the end of the year. But I think generally speaking, a project pan was just like too difficult for me to do, because I feel like I was confining myself to just a few products over a very long stretch of time, and it was just really hard for me to start like just pick up those products every single time I did my makeup. So in a way, the everyday makeup stash may be looked at as like maybe doing like a shorter project pan, but I'm not trying to finish these products off. I really don't care how much of the products I use up. I'm just trying to rotate through a lot of the stuff in my makeup collection. So the products that I'm picking today, I'm filming this at the end of September. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I'll have it up by October 1st. I'm not sure yet though, but I'm gonna be using these products during the month of October, and then toward the end of the month, I'm gonna pick out new products to use for the month of November, and then so on and so forth. And I'm also trying to focus on like the older products in my collection, just so that, you know, they're the older ones, so I just want to kind of use those up as much as I can before I move on to other stuff. But I'm not trying to pan them. I'm just trying to like rotate and just use a little bit of everything that's in my collection. So I hope that makes sense. So let's jump into the makeup application, and I'll show y'all how I did the look with the products that I picked out for October. So starting off with foundation, instead of using an actual foundation this month, I'm going to be using the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in the shade Maple. So I am the same shade in the foundation. And when I bought this, I purchased it to use it as an under eye concealer, even though it's the same shade as the foundation. To me, it just looked a little bit brighter than the foundation, but it's not. I mean, it's really like exactly the same shade. So I do have like a brand new bottle of the foundation in Maple that I haven't even opened yet, but I figure instead of opening that, since this one was already opened, I'm gonna go ahead and use this one for the month. So I think I only used this twice, and I bought it when, maybe I used it more than twice. I used it a few times, but I didn't get a whole lot of use out of it, and I bought this when it first came out, and then I decided to switch shades and use the shade Mocha for my under eye, and I had been using that ever since. And I've actually repurchased Mocha a few times, and then this one has just been sitting around. So even though this one has a little bit more coverage than the foundation, I'm gonna go ahead and use this just so I can get some use out of it and hopefully maybe use it up. So we'll see. And as you can see, I applied it with a sponge today. So normally when I wear this foundation, I do apply this with a brush, But when I wear the concealer as a foundation, I'm going to be using a sponge because, like I said, it does have a little bit more coverage than the foundation. So using a damp sponge will help me to sheer it out just a little bit. Okay, and moving on to under eye concealer. Now this product I may have to change out pretty fast. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to use it a couple of times and see how I like it. This is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer in the shade NW35. Yes, NW35. If I recall correctly, I haven't used this in a very long time. I think this has a matte finish, and I think it has like a really full coverage, which is what I want for my under eyes, but not necessarily a matte finish, because my under eyes, they do dry out pretty quickly. So if I feel like this one is just too matte for the under eye, I will switch it out with something else. But I'm going to start off with this because, as you can see, it's basically like a full bottle of concealer, and it's just been sitting around not getting used. I do remember one of the things I did not like about this is the pump, and please forgive me because it's really dirty, but because the bottle is so small, I find it very hard to pump it out. Like, you always end up pumping out a lot more than you need, and I think that's one of the reasons why I just put this thing down and stopped using it. So of course this time I didn't pump out a whole lot, go figure, but I think the main issue that I may have with this concealer is that it might end up being just too matte under the eye, but we'll see. I don't like applying my concealer like this. I would much rather have like a brush or, you know, something like the LA Girl Pro Concealer to apply it, but oh well. And I do like blending my under eye concealer out with a brush. Okay, so I just went ahead and blended out one layer of the concealer under my eye. I'm gonna go back in with another layer, and this time I'm just being very careful and I'm pumping it out directly onto the brush. I think that'll be just a little easier than putting it on my finger. But this time I'm putting on another layer and I'm concentrating it right where I want the most coverage. And I didn't mean for this video to be so tutorially. I wanted to just like talk to y'all about the stuff, but oh well. But anyway, so I'm putting on a second layer. And what I'm gonna do is, while this is sitting on my under eye, I'm going to do my eyebrows and then come back and blend this out. I don't have a new product that I'm pulling out to do my brows. I'm using something that I've been using lately. So I'm going to do my brows off camera and I will be back shortly. All right, my brows are done. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to blend out this second layer of concealer. I think I'm going to blend it out. I don't know, like I'm not really crazy about the way this is blending out. Maybe that's because it does look like it's drying down kind of matte, but I think I'm gonna blend it out with this little brush and then go over it with a sponge. Before I go back and like clean up this area here, I'm gonna take just a little bit of this concealer and put it right in the center of my forehead and on my chin. I put just a little bit, so you might feel like you can't even really see it, but I just didn't want a whole lot of concealer in those two areas. So now I'm just putting my sponge on top of the concealer just to like flatten it out a little bit and just make it look, you know, nice and blended. And I'm starting to think this color might not be the right one. I haven't worn MAC foundation in years. I do not remember what my color is. I think I'm NW43, but I'm not sure. But I feel like with this concealer, I could use a shade that's like maybe one shade darker. Okay, so I cannot get this concealer to work on my under eye, so I'm definitely gonna have to switch it out. I'm hoping that this works, but I'm gonna take my Too Faced concealer in the shade Mocha, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this right in the areas where the concealer is like not sticking. I don't know if maybe it's the brush that I use or what, but lately, like, this is the brush that I've been using for my concealer, but that matte concealer, it's like, it's moving around a lot on my under eye. I'm not sure why. So yeah, I'm gonna have to try. Yeah, see this one, this Too Faced concealer is just blending in a lot better. It's just like gliding over my skin. That matte concealer, I don't know what the deal was with that. So I'm gonna have to find another concealer to use up for the month of October, or I may just skip concealer altogether and just go back to using the Too Faced one, and then maybe just wait until next month and see if I have another older concealer that I want to try to use. But yeah, this one is blending out a lot better on my under eye. That matte concealer, I don't remember it doing that last time I used it, but like I said, it's been very, very long since I've used that one, so maybe I just don't recall. All right, so moving on to the next product. This is the MAC PatrickStarrr Setting Powder. I bought this when it first came out, and I want to say that was not Christmas of 2018, but the Christmas before that, and I was using it like crazy and then just, you know, moved on to other things and just haven't picked this up in a very long time. I still have a good amount of it left. So since this is one of my older powders, that's why I picked this one, because I do like the powder, but again, it's just been sitting around. So I'm gonna take the same foundation sponge that I used. I'm just turning it over, and then I'm gonna use this to set my under eye. I feel like I put like a whole lot of powder on this side, but no big deal. Yeah, I think my under eye looks a lot better with that Too Faced concealer mixed in. I'm gonna sprinkle out a little bit more of the matte powder, and now I'm gonna use my big fluffy brush, and I'm gonna use this to set the rest of my face. I actually don't have a new product for priming the lid, so I went ahead and did that off camera. I used the MAC Paint Pot and Painterly and the LA Girl Pro Concealer on my lids. That's what I've been using a lot lately. So moving on to eyeshadow, I decided to pick 2 eyeshadow palettes to try and use for the month of October. And the first one is the Lorac Mega Pro Palette 4. And this is what this one looks like. And then the other one is the Ulta Endless Eyes palette. Let me see if I can show them to y'all side by side. All right, so this is the Lorac palette, and then this is the Ulta Endless Eyes palette. So I decided not to limit myself to just one palette for the month, because I really think that'll just be too hard for me. That's basically what I tried to do when I was trying to do a project pan, and I included an eyeshadow palette. So that's the first reason that I decided to pick 2 palettes to use for the month. Also, I wanted to get palettes that have a lot of variety in them. This one does have a lot of variety in it, but to me, there's really nothing that's like really like bright and colorful. And there's some bold colors in there, but they're, to me, I don't know, they're just not bright enough. And then these here, to me, there's just some more options in here that will allow me to play around with color a little bit. So these are the 2 that I'm gonna try to use up a lot in the month of October. So I think for today, I do want to go for something that's kind of everyday-ish. And that's another thing with both of these palettes. I can either use like bold colors, lots of pop of colors, or I can just go kind of like everyday-ish or neutral, or just something simple with not a lot of color in it at all. So I think for today, I'm gonna use the Ulta palette, and I think I am just gonna do kind of like an everyday look for today, just concentrating on maybe a bunch of these bigger colors, these more neutral colors that are in the middle here. I think I'm going to start off with this. Let's do this, I guess it's like a pewter shade here. I'm picking this one because I feel like it kind of matches my shirt a little bit. So I think I'm just gonna make this my lid color for today. Yeah, that's like a pewter shade, but it's not like very foily or like too silvery. And it actually looks like it has almost like a pink undertone to it a little bit. Then I'm gonna take this shade here. This is almost like a chocolatey brown, and I'm gonna concentrate that on the outer part of the lid, and I'm just packing it right on top of that silvery shade. And I'm taking a little bit more of that shade on a different brush, and I'm just dragging it into the crease just a little bit. If it looks like I'm kind of just like slapping my eyeshadow on today, I basically am. Like, I'm not trying to do anything all intricate today. And then I'm gonna take this shade here. This looks basically like a matte gray, and I'm gonna use that to buff everything out. Just bring everything together. I'm gonna take that same gray shade that I just used on a liner brush, putting just a little bit of that on my lower lash line on the outer corner. Okay, I don't want my inner corner to be super bright today, so I'm gonna start off with this shade here. But if I feel like it's just way too subtle, I'm gonna go on top of it with something else. But let me start off with this. No, I actually think that's pretty good, so I'm gonna use this for my inner corner. All right, so this is what we're looking like so far with the eyes. We're gonna finish up with mascara and all that a little bit later, but now we're gonna go back to the face, and I'm moving on to, what am I moving on to? To bronzer. So the next product that I pulled out for October, this thing is really dirty, so I'm sorry, but this is the Cover FX Perfector Face Palette. This is a product that we got in BoxyCharm a few months ago, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to be using this shade over here for my bronzer. When I first got this, I was using it for bronzer like all the time, and then I just got sidetracked with another bronzer, but I'm going to go back to this one just to, you know, change some stuff up and try to use it up a little bit. I believe this is supposed to be a contour shade. Is this supposed to be? Yeah, it's called Contour. So it's supposed to be a contour shade, but I think it works really well as a bronzer because it has like a reddish undertone to it. I think it's just too warm to use as a contour on anybody's skin tone. And then I'm gonna put just a little bit down the center of my nose. And then I'm just gonna go on top of the nose contour or bronzer or whatever you wanna call it with my sponge just to like soften it back out, just so that my nose doesn't look like super snatched. Now the good thing about this palette is that in addition to it having a contour slash bronzer, it also has a blush, some highlighters, and a finishing powder. I have been using this as a blush and adding just a little bit of this shade in here. So this is actually the finishing powder. I've been using that as a blush, but it's like really, really subtle on my skin tone. So let me show you what I'm talking about. But I like the shade of it, this like burnt orange shade. So I know that y'all probably can't even see that on camera because it is quite subtle. But because it is so subtle, I've been mixing in just a little bit of that like reddish blush color. So this is going to be the blush that I'm going to be using for the month of October. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I love the Note Cosmetics blush, and that's normally what I use. But again, just trying to like switch some stuff out and change it up a little bit. I got some eyeshadow on my nose. I'll have to see if I can fix that. Okay, so we're done with the blush. Now moving on to highlighter. Again, I decided to give myself 2 options for highlighters, really almost 3 options. So some days I am going to be using both of the highlighters in this palette. When I use this palette for highlighter, I usually just mix these 2 together. Sometimes I'll use the shade in the center for my inner corner, but I rarely touch that shade in the center. Some days I'm going to be using these 2 colors, and then some days I'm going to be using my Fenty highlighter in Sandcastle and Mint Mojito. And that's what this one looks like. And I actually think I'm going to use this one today because I feel like this will tie in nicely with the eyeshadow that I have on. But I think I'm just going to stick with the brown one, the Sandcastle one. But with highlighters, I like to give myself options because I like them so much. Even though lately I have been kind of sticking to one, but I just feel like just in case I want to change it up a little bit, I'm going to allow myself to use 2. So this highlighter is actually a lot more sparkly than the one in the Cover FX palette. So I'll probably, you know, go for this one on days where I obviously want the highlighter just to stand out a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna set everything with my Rimmel setting powder. This is the only setting powder that I have that I actually like right now. So this isn't something that I'm putting in my everyday stash. It's just like the only thing that I have. Now for eyeliner, I'm making a little exception, and I'm gonna use something that is newer than the eyeliner that I typically use. So this is the Hank & Henry Slick With It eyeliner in the shade Blickety Black. We just got this in BoxyCharm last month, and I don't think everyone got this product, I'm not sure, but I love this eyeliner. I like it a lot better than the NYX one that I normally use. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on, but I am gonna do it off camera because it takes me a long time to do it. So let me just show y'all what it looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's a close-up of the finished eye look. I also put my mascara on off camera because I don't have one that I'm pulling out for the month. I use the Butter London Power Up Mascara, which is one of the ones that I use regularly. So moving on to lips, I am using 2 products for the month. The first one is the Makeup Revolution Lip Topper in the shade Exquisite. And as you can see, I've already used a good amount of this, so I feel like it's not going to take me very long to get even more use out of it. This one I bought to see if it was comparable to the Fenty foundation, not the foundation, the Fenty lip gloss, which it kind of is. I don't think it's quite as good as the Fenty one in terms of like how comfortable it is on the lips, but this one is still pretty nice. This one has like a really like silvery with a little bit of pink shimmer to it, which makes it, the color makes it a lot similar to the Fenty one, but I just went back to Fenty because I like that one so much. And I'm basically done with my Fenty gloss, which I cannot believe because I just feel like it took me forever to use that thing up. So I feel like on most days I'm going to use this because I can just throw it on my lips even on days where I'm not wearing any makeup. But the other product that I'm going to be using, and it's the one that I'm going to be using today, this is the Wet n Wild Mochalicious. I believe these are called Megalast matte lipsticks. I can't remember, but I'll have it in my description bar. But this one is in the shade Mochalicious. This one is another lipstick that I used to love, and I just, you know, moved on to other things. So this is what I'm going to be using today. The one issue that I'm going to have with this lipstick though is the lid that goes on it, and I'll show you that in a minute. The lid on all of these lipsticks, they break really easily. So a lot of times I actually passed up on wearing this lipstick just because I didn't want to carry it in my purse. So this is actually the lid from another Wet n Wild lipstick. That's why you see some of that red on the bottom, because it's from a red lipstick. The one that came with this just completely broke, and then I took the lid off of another red lipstick that I threw away. But these, they break really, really easily. So when I put these in my purse, I actually have to kind of like wrap it up or use one of those like lipstick carrier things. But I do really like the color of it. I think this is a really, really nice like everyday like nude color with just like a subtle pop of color. So I am going to put some earrings on, put my hair down, and I'll be right back. I'm actually going to leave my hair pulled back today because I just want to. But anyway, so this is the finished look. I really hope that you like it, and I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you've ever done an everyday makeup stash, or if you're thinking about doing one, just let me know in the comments what products you're going to be using for the month and how often do you switch your products out. I'm going to be switching mine out once a month. So if you're not already subscribed, I really hope that you'll consider doing so, and I really hope that you'll come back for my next video. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.